Welcome to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Our mission is to bring you discussions on a wide array of topics in the coaching world to grow players on and off the court. You can connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and also reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Now, here's your host, Coach Mike Hernandez.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us here for another episode, wherever in the world you're listening to us from, whatever platform you're listening to us on. As always, thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you for sharing this podcast around, for all the interaction on social media, the emails you guys have sent. Really, really appreciate it, and really excited to bring this episode to you. Obviously, if you are listening to this, you are very passionate about basketball, probably very passionate about coaching basketball as well, and are always looking for opportunities to kind of bring the game to more people, to expand those opportunities for people, and just expose, especially at the younger level, as many people as possible to the game that we possibly can. I know we all know as coaches that we're always competing with different sports that are starting at a youth age, and sometimes it's hard to bring basketball in people's attention and make that the sport that they fall in love with, but it certainly is doable. And that's kind of what we want to talk about here today, is about the idea of creating basketball opportunities for everyone. Talk with my guest about the work that he does in his area, some ideas about how to, maybe for you, the listener, to build up your own basketball opportunities, and really just kind of have a good conversation about growing the game itself. So if that's something you're interested in or are looking to develop, I think that this is going to be a good episode for you. I'm very, very happy to be joined by basketball coach, among many other things. I know he's a very busy man at Klahowya High School. Chris Koebelin is joining us. Coach, how you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Coach. Really excited about being on the podcast today.
Very excited to have you, Coach. So let's jump right in with your journey. Where's the game taking you? Where's your coaching journey taking you? I know you do a lot with your particular program, which I know we're going to get into as well. But by all means, if you want to talk about those different avenues, you're more than welcome to. But where's the game kind of taking you, and where's that coaching journey been taking you?
Yeah, so I was actually born and raised for the first, I'd say, probably 10 years of my life in Long Beach, California. And ironically, basketball was nowhere in my life the first, I guess, 10 years as a young kid. But I played soccer. Soccer is my deal. I am right now, as a older-ish guy, I'm 5'6" and a quarter. So I grew up in the 4'8" or 9" range for most of my youth. But I moved up to Washington when I was about 10, Washington State, and close to my uncle and my aunt. My mom moved just to be close to family, and my uncle was a basketball coach at the time for the Boys and Girls Club, and kind of immediately got into the Boys and Girls Club with him to play basketball, which is my kind of real first introduction. And I fell in love with it, from the noise, the sound of the ball bouncing, the smell, the loud. My uncle was extremely loud. He was a yeller and a screamer, but not in a negative way, just in an excited, passionate way. Mm-hmm. And yeah, from then on, I was like all ball all the time. And so I was playing all the time. And I grew up in the 80s, dating myself a little bit, but we played outside like 7 days a week. We were outside playing basketball, at the park, wherever we could find, at a elementary school's outdoor courts. It was wherever we could find. And so I played all the time, and I got to 16, and I went to high school when it was just 10, 11, 12. In our high school, we weren't good by any means, but we were still in a generation where playing big and being tall was viewed as the best of the best. So I didn't fit in that category. So I didn't get a lot of love on the basketball team in our program. But what I did end up doing is I ended up kind of staying linked with my uncle, and I started coaching at 16.
Oh, wow.
With him in a Boys and Girls Club program that in our area, there was no YMCA, there wasn't AAU back then, there wasn't any type of park and recs. It was just Boys and Girls Club. And so we literally had the best basketball players from all around playing the Boys and Girls Club. And I was coaching kids like a year younger than me, 2 years younger than me. And I just, I couldn't get enough of it. And I got to be, I think I graduated high school, I was 18, and I wanted to keep coaching with that Boys and Girls Club. So I started going to school my freshman year at University of Washington, and I was driving back to a suburb called Federal Way to coach Boys and Girls Club. And I mean, we're talking, I was so in love with the game. I had a lot of inner city kids on my team, and I was just kind of grew up driving them to their houses. A lot of them they were lucky if they had one caring parent. They didn't have a lot of opportunities to do anything else. And I stayed with it. So I coached from that point on, and I haven't looked back. So I've been coaching for 30 plus years. And I just kind of grew from Boys and Girls Club as I got older, and ended up working in the hotel business. So I was a hotel manager for close to 20 years. And that took me in a lot of different areas and places, met a lot of different people, but I'd always come back to find coaching opportunities. And I went from there into the school systems. I coached minor league. I coached for an ABA team, which that was interesting. And then after my ABA coaching days, I jumped into middle school first. I coached middle school basketball for, I guess, 4 or 5 years. And then now I'm in my 4th year or 5th year coaching high school. And yeah, it's just been, it's been a journey of just love. I love the game. And I'm at an age now where I want, you said something in your opening about just falling in love with the game. That's all I talk about. Is I want kids to fall in love with the game, because it's so good to me. And I didn't really mention, but I got 2 kids. My daughter just graduated high school last year. She's playing college basketball right now.
Awesome.
For D3 school in Oregon, Linfield University. And I got my son who's in 8th grade, who also plays basketball. And I've been able to share the game with them and watch them through all of this. So, yeah, I find myself now, I've also had a club. I operated a local area basketball club for near 10 years. I work for a company called NBC Camps, which I don't know if you're familiar with them. They do camps all over. Yeah. So I'm a NBC camp director. And if I can be in a gym literally 365 days a year, that's where you'll find me. And so that's been my journey. And I tell you, I've made so many mistakes along the way, and I've just learned so much from so many incredible people. My uncle being kind of the first person that just really, one of the first things he said to me when I was 16, he said, "Hey, you're going to come help me coach this team, and I have one rule for you, Chris." And I said, "What's the rule?" He said, "You got to love the kids. No matter what they do, what they say, what happens, you got to love the kids." And that's something that to this day, that's how I operate. I love the kids. I love the game. And that's just kind of how I coach and how I move forward. So.
And with your story, and you touched on this for sure about not just all the different stops that you've had, middle school, Boys and Girls Club camps that you run, all of that. And I also know that you coach other sports and are involved in other sports besides basketball as well. So your coaching portfolio, your coaching resume runs pretty long. And so knowing you've had all these different experiences and all these different positions, titles, and places that you've been at, how have those experiences kind of shaped you, and what have you taken from all of those experiences that you're using right now?
The biggest, like hands down, the biggest thing is as we get older is understanding really what empathy is all about. And every single sport I've coached, obviously basketball, but from track to soccer, I have seen kids through the years that have literally nothing, that sport team means the entire world to them. And as a coach, when you see that and you learn how much power and impact you can have on kids, it's incredibly humbling. And the thing that I've taken to this day, like I get, like right now, it gets me, I'm not gonna lie, my eyes are welled up. I love what I get to do, but that impact, to see a kid that looks up to you and wants to be with you and wants to be in an environment where they're being challenged and they're getting better, and they don't want to, in some cases, go home because of how bad it is. I've just learned to really dig into that, to empathize with it, to increase my ability to show compassion, because as we tend to do as coaches, especially as I'm getting older, we tend to sometimes, be a little short fuse with what's being understood when we're trying to teach and coach. And that's what I always come back to. I stop, take a breath. I kind of look at the kids that I'm with and what that response is with. And I just say, gosh, you know, did they eat today? Did they have a blanket last night when they slept? Was mom and dad fighting? Was mom and dad home? What did they have? Did they get yelled at by all of their teachers every single period today? Were they in lunch detention? Did they eat lunch? I mean, those are the things. That's probably the thing that I've learned and that I've taken with me is, you know, Chris, stop. What's happened to this kid today? Where has this kid been today? And it's enabled me really to build incredible connections with kids. They're genuine. There's never a question about where I'm coming with any of these kids. And I think they appreciate it. I appreciate it because what I found is that helps them become more genuine and honest. And they tend to then, they get better, not just in that sport, but they just become better kids, better humans. They really understand the value of doing something together and having that trust and connection. So those are the things I've taken the most, just that being empathetic, being compassionate, understanding where the kids come from, what's happened to them that day. That's been huge for me.
I mean, it's so easy sometimes, right, to kind of get lost in the sport itself and forget sometimes about the players and everyone that we're serving, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Especially when you're so passionate about the sport too.
Absolutely. And, you know, the other unique thing in this, Coach, is that I'm a male and I coach high school girls. So
you and me both. Excellent.
Yeah. So there's a whole nother component that I'm learning in the last few years, just from an emotion standpoint, from there's times when, and I've had really great leaders in our program. One of them was my daughter, and it was great to be able to coach her and have her in the program, but she would just stop and say, "Hey, Coach, right now, you just need to let us chill for a second. You need to just give us this space." And I'd be like, "Okay, all right, I hear you. Do what you need to do." But yeah, super unique.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing quite like coaching. I think high school girls, I think it's the best personally. I'm a little biased, but to me, I love it. But yes, there are some certain things where kind of a bit of a learning curve, kind of have to pick up on a little bit, but tons of fun. That's awesome. So
Absolutely.
Tell us about the state, I suppose, of basketball opportunities kind of in your area. I know we touched on this before we started talking. You and I talked a little bit about that, but when you first started kind of getting involved in basketball, I know you mentioned about the Boys and Girls Club as well, but as you started to get into adulthood and started to really create those basketball opportunities in your area, what was it like when you first stepped in and surveyed the landscape, so to speak?
Yeah, so the area that I live in, kind of where the school that I work at now, so I moved to this area back in 2005. So when I moved here, and our county is pretty big, I don't have anything to compare it to, but we're on the other side of Seattle. We're a ferry ride away from Seattle, which is a big city people know, and
Yep.
we're on a peninsula that is big but not huge. And in 2005, which I don't feel like was that long ago, but believe it or not, there was 0 girls basketball programs outside of the school. And there wasn't a Boys and Girls Club. There was one YMCA, and they had general kind of leagues, like basketball leagues, but they stopped at like 5th grade or 6th grade. And I couldn't believe it. And I moved from Seattle. So I was like, what's the deal? What's going on over here? So I started meeting with, community members. And I at the time I moved here to take over for a hotel job. I wanted to coach, and I was trying to find opportunities, and there was just nothing. There was the high school, middle school program coaches were all long tenured coaches that were teachers, had been there for a long time, did things the way they did them. And there was nothing. So I started asking, well, how can I rent a gym? At the time, my daughter was a year old, and, thinking ahead to when she wanted to maybe play. I just started asking questions, figuring out how to rent gym space. And I think I'd say 5 years later, by like 2010, 2011, I was able to kind of finally build momentum. And I started kind of renting out a local school gym. And I think I initially put it out, and this is before I got kind of into social media. I sent out some emails, which we still email now, but
yeah.
I I sent out some emails to like area coaches, and I said, hey, my name is so and so, and love to get some girls basketball programs going, and I'm going to hold these clinics at this day at this time, and love to have them, and they're free, and I was just going to pay the gym cost and just try to get some girls in playing, and that went okay, and I'd say I probably did that for like maybe 6 to 7 months, and I was getting, I don't know, anywhere from 10 to maybe 15 girls would show up. And I was going once a week, and basic skills, fundamental stuff.
Sure.
Well, about a year later, after kind of doing that, I decided, enough is enough. I stopped working in hotels, and I said, I'm going to start my own club. And AAU was around, definitely on the Seattle Tacoma side. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to start a club, and I'm going to have tryouts, but I'm going to keep everybody, and I'm just going to see what I can do to make a team. By that point, my daughter was 8, and kind of made a team and was able to get with the high school, not the high school I'm at now, but the high school in the area that I lived in. They were like, hey, we have community use facilities, so you don't have to pay. We'll give you the gym. You have to schedule it out. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. Do you guys do this for everybody? And they're like, well, nobody asks. So I was like, well, this is great. And so I got to a point where I think I was at 5 days a week that I was getting their gym. Now I had to go at weird times because obviously it had to be after their high school sports, but they had 2 gyms. So they had a main gym and an aux gym. And I was going 5 nights a week. And after about, I'd say by my 3rd year running the club, I had 3 girls teams, which I think I had like a 7th and 8th and a 9th grade team. And I had 2 boys teams. And so I had close to 50 kids playing, and it was incredible. We were going to AAU tournaments, but we weren't per se considering ourselves an AAU team. We just were. I wanted to be a basketball club that was teaching fundamentals and bringing opportunities for kids. I wasn't talking about college. I wasn't talking about I'm the best. I wasn't trying to be in the spotlight. I just wanted to give girls specifically an opportunity. And so I ended up doing that for, 8 years. That was leading up to COVID. And it was crazy because soon as I did that, after my 3rd or 4th year, all of a sudden, all of these programs started popping up in our area. Many of them were charging a ton of money, anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a kid. And, oh, you're going to get, a AAU season. You're going to do this tournament. You're going to go to Las Vegas, and you're going to go here. And once that happened, it just snowballed. And then next thing you know, there was teams everywhere. Obviously, some good, some not so good,
Sure.
some good motives, not so good motives. But I was excited because on one hand, that was awesome. It gave a lot of kids an opportunity and platform. On the other hand, it started to kind of drift to where I think kind of things are moving now, which is this all or nothing AAU. Once you're in 9th grade, you better be on a great program. Otherwise, you're not going to get seen. It's only about college. I was kind of back to that crossroad. Well, I wanted to be about loving the game and working hard and developing character and creating passion. That was actually my club's tagline, was building character, developing skill, and creating passion. But yeah, so that's how it got to where it got to in terms of doing that. In that same time frame, I got hired on from a buddy that was working at NBC camps. He said, hey, why don't you run a camp? Can you get a gym? I see that you got a gym 5 days a week. So I said, sure, I'll do a summer camp. And he set it up. We ran an NBC summer camp. And my first one I did, I had 120 kids at. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of opportunity here. And so I just kept doing camps and clinics and training within my kind of club sphere. And then when I got the jobs and I started coaching middle school, it gave me even more access until the beauty of our state, which I think you're in California, right?
I'm in Phoenix.
Oh, you're in Phoenix. Okay. Well, I was just talking to another coach in California. I was trying to figure out what rules are in place. But for us, what happened was, as a club director running all these teams, our state's association for high school, middle school basketball did not like any type of situation where club and or AAU were doing anything with coaching. And they made it to the point where if I wanted to coach school, I couldn't also run this club. And so essentially, in order to, I kind of rolled the dice and said, oh, I'm going to go coach in schools. And that kind of ended the club in terms of me running that. I did have a good friend that I let take it over who's still running it, but it kind of put a wedge, and kind of that's another crossroad that we sit at in terms of developing these opportunities for kids, is how little we're encouraged as high school coaches to participate and work with these programs. So that's kind of taken me kind of all through this crazy journey. But I went from one point where I was in a gym 5 or 6 days a week with kids from all over the place to a point now where I'm coaching high school, and I'm having to beg and plead just to get gym time for anything outside of the high school season. So it's been really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's what are kind of like your I guess I'm really curious about your thoughts about, once you said you saw like this proliferation, right, of like these AAU and these club teams that were popped up, and it seemed to me like you were in your area at least one of the first ones to get that going, and all of a sudden there was this big proliferation of it. Do you feel like it's like there's a healthy like basketball ecosystem? Do you feel like it's in a good spot overall, or do you feel like it's maybe going in a different direction than you want? Is there still work to do? Like how do you kind of assess where it is right now?
So there's kind of two answers. I'll give you the pre-COVID answer. I think
Sure.
right before, so 2019 was a crescendo, and at that time, I had just left kind of one district that I was coaching at, and to go to where I'm at now. And what had happened is, and proliferation is a great word. This probably sounds a little not so happy, but a lot of people saw an opportunity to make some money by bringing programs out, and with the view of, we only need 1 or 2 really good players that might get some opportunities to be starting high school players, and hey, maybe even they're going to play college somewhere to get attention. And so the attention came, which was the positive side. It was great because there was all this opportunities for kids to play. Then COVID happened, and what happened was all of these programs were all using gyms that were either school districts or a YMCA or church gyms. And once COVID shut down, nobody could get into gyms.
Yeah.
And all of these programs were desperately trying to figure out how to keep kids playing. Well, the other hand, soccer, they didn't stop. Soccer kept going during this time because, hey, they can find a grass field that's open, they don't have to pay for anywhere, and you're outside and you can get around the different restrictions. That is really, COVID really kind of brought it down. Where it was at before that, I guess to answer the real question you're asking is, for me, who I love the game, I believe in the work, I believe in the discipline, the character building, and that with that, you can do great things if that's what you choose to do. But it shouldn't be the only reason why you do it. I felt that we were growing into an environment basketball wise where it was all about who can be the first program to get that D1 athlete. And then it was almost kind of like a race to the arms of who's going to get the best player in our area. What are you going to do to get the best player? Okay, do you have Nike gear or do you have Adidas gear? Okay, are you going to go to Vegas? Are you going to go to Phoenix? Are you going to go to the Nike TOC? Are you going to go to California? Then it just started becoming kind of like that. And that's where I kind of really said, you know what, I need to reevaluate what I'm trying to do and the people that I'm around with in terms of helping kids with opportunities. Because while we never say we don't want to see kids go off and play college, that's awesome. That's incredible. Sure. But our whole goal and why we want to build these opportunities for kids are to develop character, to build a passion and create opportunities for kids to learn incredibly lifelong lessons that will take them throughout the rest of their life, to get these kids maybe to stay in school that, maybe these kids don't want to be in school, but, maybe playing basketball will help them to want to stay in school, finish it out, graduate, and keep doing stuff and keep moving forward. That's really where I wanted to be. And so coming out of COVID, I feel like we're back on track with that. And I know that's some of the other questions that we got later down that I'll probably kind of talk about that in terms of who I'm now involved with and partnering with to make some of that happen. But yeah, that's kind of, I guess, the timeline of how things have shaken out for the last few years.
And so, yeah, because my question was going to be about like, the process that you went through, and you already talked a little bit about it, about like, kind of organizing these camps, kind of getting these clubs going, starting getting things moving and getting people excited about basketball. And I think something I gleaned from your answer about the idea of getting people excited about basketball was focusing on just creating the enjoyment for the sport itself. And like you mentioned before, not necessarily like advertising yourself a certain way, or making any certain like promises about like where you'll end up if you join our team. But really, it sounded like what was important for you and what brought that excitement for the game of basketball out of the players who came was that they did it just because it was something they enjoyed doing and loved doing, and it was a real positive experience for them without like necessarily feeling like they had to have tons of pressure put on them. At least that's what I kind of get the sense out of from hearing your story.
Absolutely. You nailed that, coach. That's exactly what it was. I wanted kids to learn to love the game, enjoy the process. For me, the biggest prideful sense of respect that I gained is during that whole time. And I had some other coaches that I brought in, which would coach some of the individual teams and stuff, and obviously coaches helping with camps. But to this day, a lot of those kids over the last 10 years that I've been around with in this area through basketball, they would all call me coach. And I know as another coach, and I think a lot of coaches, we live in that environment where that's a sense of pride and respect that, these kids will always refer to you as coach. And that's what meant the most to me, is they knew that I was there to help them. And it didn't matter whether they, some of them I would say, hey, if you don't want to play high school basketball, that's okay. But you can still work hard at whatever you do. Maybe you're going to go into band, you're going to go into orchestra, you're going to play soccer, whatever it is. Hopefully being in the gym with us and loving the game, you'll still love the game, even if you don't go on to play at different levels. It was never about that. And kids love being in the gym. It was happy. It was positive. We worked hard. They sweat. They got better. But man, did they develop incredible relationships, incredible bonds. I mean, we had kids from, all over the area. I mean, it wasn't just like it's our neighbors that all go to the same school. I mean, we had the whole county, different kids coming to the gym. And at the camps, I mean, we would bring in so many different diverse coaches, and just loud in the gym, fun and dancing and just getting better. And gosh, I talk about it, just that's what it was about. All the other stuff, it didn't matter. Oh, this person's gonna try to go play college. That's awesome for them. But you know what? For us, did you have fun? Did you get better? Did you create lifelong memories? And are you a better person for being a part of it? And we use the saying in our program here, like the mark of our best players, and it's something that we preach and talk about, is, are you making all your teammates better? Like, that's what we consider to be, that's the holy grail. If you're making your teammates better, that's our kind of player. That's the kind of, talk that we would have in our camps and in our club and our training sessions. Hey, make everybody else in this gym better. If everybody does that, it literally like blow the roof off the gym, and it will help you in all facets of your life. And the other thing about this, I don't want to get too far off track, but in our club, all of this being said, we also created, as part of our club, we had it. Our club was CABC, was our initials, but we had the CABC Community Give Back. And in our first year, during the holidays, I'm a big holiday Christmas guy, and we would do a lot of fun stuff. Well, the Community Give Back, I basically went to our club in the first year, which we had we had like 12 kids. I went to them and the parents and said, and they were, I think, fourth or fifth grade maybe. And I said, hey, there's some needs in our community, and I'd like to see if we can donate some money. And then we're going to go down to the Fred Meyer store, and we're going to buy a bunch of food and gifts for a couple families that are in need. What do you guys think about it? And every single family and kid was like, oh, this is awesome. Let's do this. And at the time, beaded necklaces and all that kind of fun stuff was really popular. So and these are all girls, I forgot to say, but yeah. So they're like, oh, coach, I want to make this. And they're like, I want to make all this stuff. I was awesome. So they're making stuff. And we ended up raising that first year, I think like $700. Went to Fred Meyer, spent $700 on all this food and stuff. And we did a whole shopping trip. We made a shopping list, and each of the girls was split up into teams, and they went to get, like, okay, they're getting produce, they're getting meat, they're getting shirts and all this stuff for whatever kids of the family. Well, that grew each year. And the last year we did it was actually the year right before COVID. So it would have been, it was Christmas of 2019. We raised $2,700.
Oh,
And
wow.
at that time, our club was now, I think, 24 girls, $2,700. And I think we did end up helping 5 families. And it was every one of the girls in the program, including my daughter, like, that's what they looked forward to. Yeah, basketball was awesome, but every year it was like, hey, coach, at the community give back this year, can we do this? And hey, I had a good idea. We should try to do this. And I was talking to my friend at school and they had this idea we could do this. And so it just became something that was really the essence of kind of what I'm talking about here today is like, basketball is a sport and I love the heck out of it and it's shaped my life, but it's about the relationships that it's helped me to build and teach and grow with kids to want to build that community. That was what was really awesome about it. So that part of it for me, and I transitioned that into now in my high school program. Obviously there's rules about how we do things like that in high school, but we do something very similar, not to the same level financially, but we do a couple helping families out now with the high school program. And it's just something that like the kids literally now take it and they run with it. And it's really awesome. So.
And I think that this really kind of goes to this overarching point of like, and I know this is something I was going to ask a little bit later, but I can bring it up now about, for anyone who's kind of looking to, start, investing in their area and create these opportunities or start these camps. I just feel like it's so important to think about what else you're going to be giving and all the other awesome opportunities and all the awesome other things that being a part of like a basketball team or just being a part of a team in general can provide for young people and for players that don't necessarily have to do with basketball. There's like so much more that our players, especially the ones at the youth level, really, really get out of being a part of a team and being a part of something beyond themselves that I think it's just so important for coaches who are looking to start these programs to just almost realize, right? Like just all of the different amazing experiences that we can provide for those players, many of which may have nothing to do with basketball itself.
Absolutely, man. I can't speak to that enough. It's really incredible. It's almost like kind of like watering plants, right? Like, you give this positive reinforcement and encouragement on a group of kids through a sport like this at a young age, and it stays consistent. And they are going to grow. Oh my gosh, they're going to grow into these like just beautiful young people that are learning how to just be better people, to be people of integrity, to believe that character matters, how they carry themselves matters, what they do in their community. We would have this thing. It's just like, it's what you do in your community. It's what you do in your family. And it's what you do in your school. Those are the 3 areas. And the impact it has, it's just crazy. The majority of these kids, like we had a salutatorian, we've had a valedictorian, we had 2 valedictorians that I've had kids that I've coached kind of through our club side. And they all, to this day, I had a big group of them along with my daughter graduated last year. So that 2022 graduate group kind of was the mark of the group that I started with as 4th graders. And within that group, there's probably, I'd say 40 to 50 girls and probably 20 to 30 boys that I kind of directly kind of over or had some sort of involvement from the club in high school. And they all like still talk. They're in communication. They graduated from at least 8 or 9 different high schools from the areas. Some moved away. They communicate a lot through social media. They are just really incredible young people. And to be a part of that has just been really awesome. And I want to share that on top of it, by the way, these seniors like from last year, they actually helped coach starting when they were freshmen and sophomores. They were helping me coach young kids. They were helping me get in the next generation of kids, and most of them asked to do it. And they're the same ones. I got 3 girls along with my daughter that help me coach for NBC camps now. They spend the summer at Whitworth University coaching camps there in Spokane.
Wow, that's
and
awesome.
It's awesome.
Little coaching tree almost.
Absolutely. And they're great at it because, again, they do what matters most, which is they love the kids. They lead with character and integrity, and they're incredibly passionate about the sport. So it's awesome.
Yeah. And I think just to kind of put a kind of bow on that thought in particular, and I feel like you would agree that if there's a coach listening who's looking to, you know, create these opportunities and really bring basketball into a community to really just kind of make sure that you're always kind of thinking beyond basketball and thinking about all the other like great opportunities that exist that basketball can create. But and obviously you and I obviously we're super passionate about basketball itself, but making sure that we always kind of think beyond and know that there's just so many other cool things and so many other unique, awesome experiences and memories these players are going to build that we should definitely be celebrating.
Absolutely. Yep. Just being genuine and being authentic about kind of your why. I know a lot of people talk about that, but I think for me, a lot of the coaches that I'm around, you ask those questions like, "Hey, so why do you coach? What are you doing coaching?" Especially if they don't have a kid, or maybe they do have a kid, but the kid doesn't play that sport. Like, how'd you get involved in this, or why do you do this? And generally speaking, a lot of coaches, at least the ones I'm around, say, "Hey, I love the game. I love helping impact kids, and I want to see them get opportunities." And so I feel like it's a pretty good, it's a good mix. It's a great gig, man. Coaching, it's the best thing
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. We've kind of touched on and you've touched on a little bit about the really cool opportunities that you've been able to work with and give your players. Were there other experiences, other opportunities you hadn't touched on before that you were really excited, really proud that you were able to kind of provide for your players?
Absolutely. There's two answers to that. Number one, I know I kind of probably sound like that coach that's like, it's not all about going to college and it's just about this part. But that's been the beauty, is doing the things that I would say, like people would say, "Hey, you do it your way," which, okay, fine. We all have our way that we do it. But we've also, which is really cool, besides just my daughter, but we've produced 7 college basketball players over the last 7 years. And I think that's
Awesome.
awesome. And I didn't go to special high-end training, and I didn't send them to the top program. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they worked hard. We taught them, "Hey, this is how you communicate with coaches. When you contact a college coach, this is what you need to do. You need to be respectful. This is how you draft an email. This is how you leave a voicemail." And so that kind of stuff has been really rewarding, just to see them all get to those areas they worked really hard to get to. And then the other thing is, as coaches, I'm sure you're in the same boat, man. We have some really close-knit coaching friends, and I have a
Sure.
couple just really dynamic, dynamite young coaches, and they're super out of box thinkers. And one of the things one of my really close friends is doing, he has an organization. It's called Sports Beyond. It's a nonprofit, and it was started by a guy that played basketball for University of Puget Sound back in the 70s. He's still around. His name's Rick Walker. He's kind of a local hero. He started Sports Beyond in the similar way to give kids an opportunity. And him and I have kind of partnered, and he took over my club. But we've started through COVID, believe it or not. Last was the summer of 21. We did summer basketball camps outside. We followed all the protocol rules, and it was the most fun thing I've ever been a part of. And from there, we were like, gosh, what else can we do? We started doing, we did a summer baseball camp. We did a summer soccer camp. Now, we knew nothing about baseball or soccer. I did coach soccer, but we did these camps to give kids an opportunity outside to just stay active and build on their activities, so they weren't just kind of at home on computers and screens. So after that, the same guy came to me and said, gosh, Chris, what if we started looking more at 3-on-3 leagues? They're starting to creep up. They're starting to become more popular, and it'd be a great opportunity. What if we did 3-on-3 leagues with no coaches? And I was like, well, okay, that's radical, but then we're going to have a bunch of parents yelling and screaming at these games. And he said, no, we're just going to say, hey, this is how we're going to coach. You guys sit over on the stands. They can't be by. It's not going to be like outdoor street 3-on-3s where the parents are all on top of the court. No, you're going to be on chairs over there, and we're going to ref these games and run these games, and it's going to be 3-on-3 games. And we would do 3-on-3 practices and trainings. And, coach, we have, over the last year, you wouldn't believe how many kids are signed up for these 3-on-3 leagues. It's absolutely incredible. Oh, boys and girls, all ages. We have one next month. We're doing the weekend before high school basketball. We're doing an adult one. And I think we're already up to like 10 teams, 10 adult teams.
Wow.
So but it's become like awesome because, and the value too, we're charging as little as we can. We're trying not to, like, money's a big thing. And so we're charging these kids to come in. Let's say, I think we do 4 or 5 weeks. We do a 4 or 5 week 3-on-3 league. And let's say it's like $75 for your kid. You can either join up with a team or you can join up as an individual. And we put you on a team. We give you a shirt. And then we teach you some basic stuff, the coaching instructors for the league. And then we play these games every week. We go for an hour and 30 minutes. That's it. You're going to get 4, maybe 5 3-on-3 games that night. The kids play. They get reps and touches because, as we all know, it's really hard to develop if you're playing 5-on-5 or on these travel teams where maybe you're the 9th or 10th guy. So you're going to practice. You're not getting to shoot. You're not getting to handle the ball. You're not getting to touch the ball sometimes. So it's just been incredible because we're about 9th or 10th month of doing this. And some of these kids, these 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade kids, we're like, holy cow, this kid can handle the ball. Wow, this kid, like, he can finish a layup. Like, this kid can use his offhand. It's just been awesome. And it's just kind of been, I think, and I really give credit to, his name's Josh Matthews. He's a great young coach. I give credit to him because he said, he was researching this and he was like, Chris, man, I think this is the way to go. We get kids touches. They can be involved in a developing, and they don't have somebody yelling and screaming at them all the time saying they're doing things wrong. Let them play a little bit, then we coach them, we review it. And it's been really awesome. And I'm hoping we can keep growing that. And we're also doing teams within that. So we do have programs within that same structure where we're getting teams of 10. We do teams of 8 to 10 players, no more than that. And we're starting that up to where we're playing kind of in localized regional tournaments and leagues. And we're also working on trying to start our own middle school basketball league outside of the school season. And we have some good promise on that. It's just figuring out the gym space issue. But stuff like that, I think, has been coming out of COVID. Parents have genuinely just been like, this is awesome. And I'll say one more and we'll move on because I appreciate you letting me rant here.
Yeah, no, this is great. This is awesome.
Yeah, the other one that we just started, and I got to give credit to my co-coach here, the boys coach here at the high school, Brian Temke. And there's a story about him if we have time. But he and I, back in, I think our season finished, we're in March or April, and he said, Chris, we got to get the younger kids in the gym and get them wanting to be a Klahia Eagle because we don't have them. And so he said, what if we started the Klahia Basketball Academy for 3rd grade through 8th grade? And I said, that's awesome. Why don't we go 1st grade? He said, I love it. So we pitched our AD because we decided we were going to do it as a ASB fundraiser. That enabled us to get our gym for free. So we got it approved, and we said for June, July, August, and September, which, yes, I did not have a summer, but that was my choice. We're going to go twice a week for 3 weeks each month. So 6 total sessions. And each session was from 6 to 9. So 6 to 7:30 for the 1st through 5th grade, and then 7:30 to 9 for the middle school grades, so 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And again, this is coming out of last spring, right? We're coming off of COVID. We had kind of a weird year here in school. So we put it out there, and here's what we did. We were crazy, right? We said, for this whole month of these sessions, which were going to be run by the high school boys basketball coach and the high school girls basketball coach, we're going to only charge you $50. We had 250 kids sign up for the 4 months during the different sessions. And I mean, Coach, I personally, I'm 46, and I told you about all my love and passion and just all my journey. I mean, I've never had as much fun as I had in those sessions over this last summer. I mean, the smiles, we started off doing jump roping together. And then the boys coach would take the boys and I would take the girls, and we would just do developmental games. And it was, I tell you, the most fun I've ever had in the gym.
Really?
In my entire career. And the best part was in June and July, right? Because that's my period where I can coach still. We had all of our high school girls, most of our varsity girls, were coming out and coaching with me and being in the gym. And these little girls, awesome. Oh yeah, these 1st, 2nd, 3rd graders, they're looking up and they're like, I want to wear that jersey. And we have in our gym, we have a big poster of our varsity girls basketball team. And they're like, I want to be in that poster. It was just, it was incredible. So that's one of the things I'm most proud of just in this last kind of year coming out of COVID and where things have gone. I've seen a lot of hope that kids can fall in love with this game. They want to be in the gym, and the trust of the parents to just go out there and have fun and teach has been awesome. So that's probably been the best part, I would say, in the journey of creating these opportunities to be able to do that. And it was hard to get there, man. Like we had to go through our district athletic director. We had to jump through so many hoops to make it happen. And I'm really hopeful that we can keep pushing that moving forward and grow it even more across our whole district. So
I'm just trying to imagine, Coach, how your schedule, how you manage to keep up with all these things you're doing along with the family obligations and personal life. Your schedule must be there's no 40-hour work weeks for you. I'll tell you, I can get a sense of that.
No, I think number one, first and foremost, man, a loving, supportive, incredible wife.
There you go.
That's been the biggest thing. I have incredible kids. I'm speaking to you right now. I don't think I said this earlier, but I'm in the weight room because we have open gym tonight. So I run open gyms too. But yeah, it's a lot of time and commitment. But like I said from the very beginning, man, I love what I do. I love the opportunity to spend this time with kids, and these kids see it. And that's the other thing, is they see what I do and they see how much I'm here and what I care about. And it makes them feel the same way for those around them. It makes them take opportunities serious. It makes them want to help those people. I mean, we have kids that are like, hey, coach, so-and-so wanted to come to open gym tonight, but they don't have a ride, so I'm going to go pick them up. Is that okay? Yeah, go ahead. That's all. Like, it brings a real sense of pride. And so it's really awesome. But schedule wise, man, oh, coach, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I would be curious and maybe also terrified to take a look at what your calendar might look like on any given week. It must be busy, but in the best way possible. Because like you said, right, you would spend every moment you could in a gym if you possibly could.
100%. Yep.
So something I thought that was really cool that you mentioned, and I want to circle back to that is, and I think that this might be something very encouraging for some coaches, is the fact that, like you said, that you don't necessarily have to be running in terms of like a club or a youth organization, something that has maybe tons of money behind it or the flashiest, of gear or things like that, or do all of these certain things to necessarily produce like athletes and basketball players who are really solid, really good, and are going to potentially be college players if that's what they want to. And I think that that's something that might be really encouraging for some coaches to hear, that they might be wondering like, hey, how do we create, we got these players and I'm going to coach them really well. And we're going to do really all these really good things, but I'm really worried they might not get noticed or they might not get the attention they need. But it sounds like, that hasn't been something that you've kind of let stop you or your players. And you've, like you mentioned, right, you worked with them on how to contact coaches, how to kind of build that resume for themselves and how to put themselves out there, even if there wasn't, millions of dollars necessarily being poured into that program.
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things that I pride myself in the most, and I'll say this to anybody, is, hey, I don't know a lot of stuff, but I love to ask questions. One thing, Coach, that for me, COVID was a really tough time for us in general, but the one bright spot that COVID allowed me was, and I would say this to a lot of coaches right now, it allowed me to get onto a ton of coaches' clinics on Zoom, and they offered them free. And what that did was, I was on a ton of them. When we're talking, there was maybe 20 people on the Zoom, but there was 18 D1 coaches on there. And they're sharing their phone numbers and their contact info. And I'm going to be honest, I know a lot of high-level programs might get a bad rap in terms of not, connecting and supporting grassroots, but every single coach that I met during that period of time, which in 2020 and 2021, I probably did over 100 different coaching clinics or Zoom, whatever you want to call it. And every single coach that gave me their number or their contact information responded. So what I did was I just said, hey, how do you do this? How do you do this? What is the best way to do this? And these guys and gals just, they were awesome. I would say that to coaches, man, call them. They may not get you right away. And sometimes you have to, leave a lot of messages, but they do genuinely want to help us. And from there, that connected me to Dan Hughes from Seattle Storm, right? Jewel Lloyd, okay. I got connected to her, and she did a Zoom with our club and my high school team, and Jewel Lloyd on a Zoom with us, interacting and talking with us. We got another college coach that was at Boise State. We got a college coach from Centenary out in Louisiana, Chris Dorsey, who's a big Princeton offense guy. He's all over Twitter right now. He's got his playbook out. But these coaches and players, they came on and spent time with me and the players that I had, and all because I just asked. And kind of circling back to your direct question about players, really what it boiled down to was I would always ask the players the same thing. Do you want to play college basketball? And if they say yes, I would say you have to work harder than anybody else, and this is what it's got to look like. And from there, you're responsible for the work. But then I would help them with, we're going to look up every single college, whatever level, has some form that you can fill out that puts you in a prospective athlete form. You just got to find it. You just got to find it. You just got to search the web, search that college. Once you find it and you fill that out, now you're in that school's database. Now, they're not just going to get that form because they'll probably get 500 and call every single player. But you do that, that gets you in the database. The next thing you do is we tell these players social media is where it's at. And by the way, it's not Instagram. A lot of these kids think it is Instagram. It's not. It's Twitter. Almost every high-level college coach, you're on Twitter too, coach, for your podcast, right? They're all on Twitter. That is where they're going to interact the most. But you can't just come at coaches like, yo, what's good, coach? I'm good. I can do this. No, we're going to talk about being respectful. We're going to talk about what it looks like in the professional world to address a coach and how you're going to craft an email, how you're going to call them. When you do call them, how you're going to speak. And so we would go through all that. And then from there, it's just a matter of there's apps, there's field level, there's different, recruiting sites where you don't have to pay. And we'd say, just get your film. That was always key too. But the really big follow-up to this, and I think this is where it's been lost, especially in high school coaching. High school coaches, just for whatever reason, it's really challenging for them to spend that time trying to help those players that do have that interest if they're not from an area that it's a regular cultural thing. So I'd have to spend a lot of time cutting up film and sending coaches film. But I did that because it was important to me and it was important to that player. Now technology has made it to where I got programs. I'm on a program right now that I use. I think a lot of people use Fast Draw, Fast Scout. And then I use a program called VidSwap, which records all our games. You're familiar with it, right? I can cut that and I can send it and I can get that off to coaches and they'll watch it, So it's a lot of effort, but it's been great for me. And it's helped me to get a player seen that's not going to normally be seen based on either our classification, our district, where we play, or those different factors. So yeah, I just say, honestly, at the end of the day for coaches, it's reach out, ask a lot of questions, go to a lot of coaching clinics. Even now past COVID, they're still doing Zoom clinics.
Yeah,
and
they're out there.
Generally speaking, coaches will give you their contact info. And one other beauty side note too, coach, once I get a kid that goes to college, I immediately want to become that college's coach's best friend. And and they invite me to practices. I was just at a practice, inter-squad scrimmage on Monday for one of our girls that graduated last year at Northwest University here up in Kirkland in Washington State. And the coach, he came over, talked to me and, hey, anything you need? I was like, oh, I'm just curious. Can you talk to me about some of your offensive concepts? He sat right down and just basically for the next 15 minutes just told me how he kind of his years of coaching, how he got to the concepts. And it was incredible. So ask a lot of questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Like I say, I don't know a lot of things and I just love learning from other people and I'm always willing to ask and say, man, how do you do this? How do you create that? And I tend to pride myself just in the culture part and just building a willingness to want to be better and grow and love each other. So yeah.
A big thing I've gotten out of hearing some of the responses you've given though is that you are definitely not alone and the success that you've had is such a community effort, and the effort of so many people who've gotten involved, including your own players. And I think that could also be something for coaches that's really encouraging and really like positive for them to know if they're trying to build those opportunities, is that there seems to be so many people out there who are willing to help in the community or get involved and are willing to work with you on that journey, and it doesn't have to be done in isolation at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like it's all about community. That's the word, right? It's community.
Yeah.
It's community. Like-minded people, not always coaches, right? I have a lot of people that help me that aren't coaches, but they're like, hey, we're in this mission. We love it. What do you need us to do? And it's kind of life-changing, to be honest, because I mean, I get to do what I love. I get to live it. I get to share it with my family. I get to share it with the people I care the most about. And it makes all of us better. And gosh, I learn every single day. Like there's something new I'm learning every single day. And I matter of fact, I was listening to your podcast last week. I don't remember what day it was, and I don't remember which episode, but I was driving because I listen to them every morning. And I got to school and I had to get out. I have a little notepad that I keep in my car because I like write things down when I'm listening to listening to a podcast. And I wrote down, I don't remember what it was. It was specific basketball stuff. And I wrote it down and I added to my kind of like this big binder full of stuff that is just stuff that I hear. And that's the kind of thing I love, man. It's just like listening to people talk about this and then, oh, I heard this today. Ooh, I got to write that down. I want to try that. So
yeah. Excellent. Yeah, never alone. There's so much we learn from each other. Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more with that. Wow, this hour has definitely flown by. And I know before I ask this last question, before I get to my concluding segment, that definitely have to have you on in the future here, because I know we've probably just scratched the surface here, which is awesome. I really appreciate how much you've given us. But I did want to ask you specifically, Coach, before you hit this concluding segment, about what would be your call to action to coaches in general on what coaches need to do, they can do to kind of help grow the sport and keep our young players engaged in it.
So I think the real call to action, honestly, is why we do what we do. Like figuring out how you can be a competitive coach. You can be somebody that wants to build and grow and succeed, but it's figuring out why you do what you do and how we can work together. Because right now, the biggest issue I see is a lot of people just don't want to partner. They don't want to work together. They want to do their own thing. They want to have their own thing for whatever reason. So that's my big call to action is we have to work together, especially in bigger communities. We have to work together to be better and provide the opportunities. Because if I go off and do my own thing and just say, I'm not going to work with you or you, that's not good. It's not good for the kids. It's not good for the community. It doesn't share that love and passion. So that's my big thing, is working together. And that's really hard, because coming together means, kind of like I've been saying, you got to come without ego, and you got to come and just say, hey, I'm in this to make things better. So it doesn't have to be my way. It doesn't have to be my ideas, but what can I do to help? And that would be what I would say is the biggest call to action.
No, that's awesome. I think that it's always important to remember, and I know sometimes even I can lose sight of it, that at the end of the day, like, we all as coaches should be working together for like the betterment of these young people we work with, and that providing those opportunities to give them those positive experiences, it just goes so much more beyond basketball. And I think it's really important that we never forget that.
Absolutely, man.
To wrap up, Coach, there's a couple questions I ask every guest. So go ahead and start with this first one here. Thinking back on your coaching career, what is a moment from that career that you think others listening would be able to learn from?
I think COVID, which it's kind of an isolated situation, but I think the biggest thing I learned is I have to be willing to ask other really smart people why they do what they do. I like the ability to just reach out and contact somebody and not feel embarrassed or feel like you're less than them. That was the biggest turning point for me, really, just 2020 and 2021, being able to reach out to people that I never thought I could ever reach out to. I never thought these people would talk. That's been huge for me. It's been a huge growth for me.
Yeah, it's and like, kind of like you said, right, there's just so much out there. And I think one of the coolest things to me about the game especially in COVID brought it out, is just how much people and coaches are willing to share with each other and share what they know. And I just feel so many coaches then and even now still are just so willing to engage and talk to you and just share their passion for the sport. And I don't know, there's nothing quite like that to me, to see like such an awesome community come together like that.
Absolutely. 100% agree with that.
To wrap up, Coach, I give every guest what I call a 60-second soapbox, but don't worry, I will not be timing you. So it's your platform to get out. Kind of a final thought, a closing message, just kind of a closing idea that you want to leave the listeners with. I'll let you kind of take it in any direction that you wish. And I'm just going to kind of give you the floor and kind of let you just go ahead and take it from here.
Yeah, I feel like I've been soapboxing the whole time, but
no.
Yeah, no. Listen, I guess what I would say is, like, truly love kids first. Figure out what you're good at. And that's been my thing. Figure out what areas you're good at. I'm not good at a lot of things in coaching, but the areas that I am good at, figure out how to maximize those. And that's been something that I really, truly believe in. If you're a good communicator and a good speaker, utilize those to help reach more people. If you're good, at X and O's, share that insight with people. Don't be afraid to just sit down with somebody and talk shop and get ideas that way. The other thing is just, partner with people in your community. Like even the guy that thinks he's the best and knows everything, just go up to them and say, man, I'd love to just work with you on these things. And allow, in that sense of humility, allow for that person, if they need, to feel like they're leading that conversation, because it's still going to make you better just to seek out that partnership. And the hope at the end of the day, to be honest, is that people see your goodness and your willingness to grow and learn, and they want to do the same thing. And then if you can connect those two things, everything around you grows. It's like wildfire. It's just, everybody wants to be a part of it. Everybody wants to do it. And it can galvanize a school. It can galvanize a community. It can galvanize a region. And next thing you know, you got all these kids wanting to hoop and play and do community events and do food drives and help those in their community and make their bed at home and listen to their moms or dads and all of that. So that's my soapboxing, man. And don't forget, love the game, love the people you love the game with, and just make everybody else around you better.
Awesome. Coach, this was great. As I mentioned, I'm going to have you back on here at some point, because I think we just scratched the surface of some things we can discuss. This was awesome. It's so much fun to kind of hear your story and all the just real cool things that are happening with the players, or your background, the girls, the community, all the people you've had a great opportunity to work with. I mean, it just sounds great. And it sounds like things are just really going in an awesome direction there. So, Coach Koebelin, thank you so much. Best of luck as you get really going here on your high school season, and best of luck with all your adventures. Make sure you take a little time to sleep there if it's possible for you as well. Thank you, Coach.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach Hernandez. I appreciate the time. Take care.
Thank you guys so much for listening. This was another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Make sure to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time.